Today we're going to talk all about how much does it really cost to purchase a home. Hello and welcome to the Aaron Powers Show. I'm Aaron Powers with Keller Williams Southern Nevada, and today is episode 8. And today's show is going to be all about how much does it really cost to purchase a home. You know, we're going to go over many things. I get questions about this all the time. I know a lot of people think, oh, well, I can't buy a home unless I have 20% down or X% down. And I'm actually here to tell you that it's, not totally true. Now, can you buy a home with 20% down? Absolutely. Would it benefit you? Of course. The more money you put down, the better you can make your payment, so on and so forth. So today I really wanted to talk to you about, in a normal situation with the way most people are purchasing homes, what would it actually cost you today to do that? So glad you're here with us to go over it today. And we'll want to start with, the different programs and ways that you can buy, right? So first of all, if you have the cash, you can pay cash for a home. Obviously, you're not going to have to get a loan. There's no mortgage. It's just straight. Whatever the home costs, that's what you pay. So obviously some closing costs, and we'll go over that a little bit later in the show as well. So the way the majority of us, including myself, the way that I purchased my home is with a loan, with a mortgage. And there's a few different programs out there. Most common, FHA, conventional, and VA, most common loans you'll go through. FHA is going to be your, more usually first-time homebuyer type of loan, less money down. They all go with 3.5% down as far as down payment. Conventional is kind of all over the map. You can put a ton of money down. There's some where you can put as little as 3 or 5% down, and that's a little bit different program for you, depending on what your use for the home is, how you're purchasing it. And then VA is actually for all you veterans out there. So first of all, if you can get the VA, thank you so much for your service to the country. Greatly appreciate that. And the VA is a great way because you can actually put zero money down. I mean, you can purchase a home with no money down for down payment whatsoever. So it is an amazing program. If you weren't sure about the VA, I would definitely encourage you to reach out and learn more about it. As the shows go, I will more than likely do the different loan programs and dedicate them to their own show, just because there is so much information packed in each one. Right today, I just really want to go over, in a generalized sense, what it may cost you to purchase. So in today's example, I'm going to be using a home that's $300,000. And now I'm doing that because it's a nice, easy number. It's easy math for all of us, me included, so I don't, screw up while we're doing this. And as well as it's the average sales price in Nevada right now. We're right around $300,000, and so it's really a great place to start. And so what I really want to do is go into, okay, well, what is involved in purchasing? What money is spent? How is it spent? Where is it spent? So your two biggest things that you're going to spend money on when you buy a house is down payment and your closing costs. So, what is that? What's the difference? Your down payment is the down payment you must provide in cash in order to get the loan to buy the house. Your closing costs incur at the end of the transaction when you actually sign all the documents and you're going to get the keys for the house. And the closing costs are so many different things. I feel like I could do a show just on that as well. That's all your closing costs for, your lender, your title and escrow company, your title insurance, your HOA transfer if you have one, prorated things like taxes and sewer, and there's so many different things. And I'm going to give you kind of what will that cost in a normal transaction. Now, I'm not going to go too much into what monthly payment might be, because to be perfectly honest with all of you, it is really on a case-by-case basis. Every single person is different. You could be buying the same house with the exact same money involved, and your monthly payments could be different based on what your income is, what your credit is, what your history is. I mean, it really, really depends. So I don't want to go too much into that. Really want to focus more on what you actually have to bring to the table to buy. So let's just use the FHA example. It's the easiest one. It's 3.5% down. It's a fixed down payment. So if we're buying a house, it's $300,000, and we're putting 3.5% down. That is $10,500. So 3.5% of $300,000. And really your closing costs in a generalized sense will be a case-by-case basis as well, depending on when you buy, when it is in the month, many different things. You can really calculate anywhere from 3 to 4% for closing costs. I as well like to use 3.5 because it's a nice, middle of the road type of number. And that can vary as well, like I said, depending on different things, and we'll go a little bit more into that also. So down payment, closing costs, we put those together in what's called cash to close. And now cash to close is your down payment and your closing costs together that you would need to close the transaction at the very end. Okay, so your cash to close will always be your down payment, which in this case we're using 3.5%, so 10.5, and your closing costs, which in this case we can also use 3.5%, 10.5, right? So you'll total those for your cash to close. In this sense, it'd be about 21. So now you might be thinking, well, do I need all of that up front in order to buy the house? And the answer is no. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about, in that same transaction, what you would actually need out of pocket to get under contract and move through the transaction, which is obviously the most important thing. In the previous video, we talked a little bit about, the biggest mistake that buyers make, and they wait too long. And we went over 3 steps. We said lender, realtor, and shopping, which are the 3 places you start when you buy a house. I'm going to take you a little bit further than that today and talk to you about when you actually start to spend money to purchase the home. Okay, so you have 3 things that you will be coming out of pocket for when you purchase a property. Number 1 is the EMD, or earnest money deposit. What this is it's a good faith deposit that you're going to put into a third-party escrow account that stays there, and it becomes part of your down payment as the transaction continues until it closes. Traditionally, the earnest money deposit is 1% of what the sales price would be. So $300,000 home, can generally expect the earnest money deposit to be right around $3,000. So when we open escrow, which means we go under contract, we're going out, we're shopping, we're finding the property, we're making an offer on the property. When that offer is accepted, we are signed by both buyer and seller. We are now under contract as the buyer to purchase that home. Once that happens, we usually have, depending on how the contract's written, a business day or 2 to put the earnest money into escrow. So at that point, you would need your $3,000, and it must be cash, money that you have, to be put into the escrow account that will go towards your down payment. So that's item number 1 out of pocket. Item number 2 will be your home inspection. Now, your home inspection happens usually within the first 7 to 10 days. We call that our due diligence period. And that is, once we're under contract, we have about 7 to 10 days to have a home inspection, see what comes back, and then obviously as buyers, we would ask the seller for any repairs that we deem necessary, any health issues or hazards or anything that materially affects the value of the home. That generally, depending on square footage, how large the lot is, that kind of thing on the property, it's usually anywhere from $300 to $400. Huge house, it could be more. Small condo, it could be less. So I'm just going to kind of give you a general idea of price there. Home inspection is going to be about $300 or $400. The next thing we would come to is your appraisal. Now, your appraisal is the way for the lender to appraise. Now, the lender is not actually appraising your home. It's a third-party appraisal company that will go in, and an appraiser will give you a valuation of the property and appraise it based on the other homes in the neighborhood and what it should really sell for. So your appraisal is mandatory for any loan, and the appraisal is generally anywhere from $450 to $600. So earnest money deposits out, we'll say that's $3,000. Home inspection, 3 to 4, we'll choose 4 as the high. And appraisal, $450 to $6, we'll choose 6 as the high. So what I like to say is you want to have the $3,000 for earnest money right away. And within the first, usually 7 to 10 days, we're going to have the home inspection done and appraisal ordered. And that will together cost you about $1,000. $400 being the high on the inspection, $600 being the high on the appraisal. Those together equal about $1,000. So I generally like to tell all of my buyers, have about $1,000 aside to make sure we can pay for our home inspection and our appraisal. right? Because your earnest money is already going to be in there. So in this case, the buyers at $300,000 would have needed $3,000 for earnest money and $1,000 for home inspection and appraisal, so $4,000. So now, really, that's all you're out of pocket. You're out of pocket the $4,000. The rest of your cash to close, your down payment minus the earnest money, because that's already come out, and your closing costs are not paid until the very, very end when the loan's finalized and you're signing the documents to actually record the property and then eventually get the keys, which is what we're all looking forward to. Now, I split them up because out of pocket is really what you need to get through the escrow process. The rest of your down payment and closing costs you must have at the very end. However, you don't have to necessarily have them up front. And you might be saying, well, then how am I going to buy the house? Well, the reason I say that is because I have personally helped people buy homes for next to no other money put in other than the 3 items we just talked about. And that's because there's so many other programs out there. If you're in the culinary union, there's a down payment assistance program for that. If you're a teacher, there's a down payment assistance program for that. If you're a first responder, we have down payment assistance programs for that. Again, the VA, if you're a veteran, we have assistance with that. So there are many ways that you can actually get the money granted to you for down payment. Now, is this going to be available all the time for everyone? It depends. You know, we need to have a conversation with the lender about that and see, do you qualify? You know, where is credit, where is income, job history? And if you can qualify for any of these down payment assistance programs, we have many that don't necessarily involve a certain occupation as well, you can actually get money given to you, granted to you in order to purchase a home. So keep that in mind. There are many different ways to do that. And then you might say, well, wait, I still have closing costs as well. Also, another negotiable option for you. I've actually negotiated the seller to pay the buyer's closing costs on their behalf in order to close the deal. Now, the market really depends with this. If it's a high seller's market with really low inventory, are you going to be able to get, you know, as a buyer, are you going to be able to get your closing costs paid for? Probably not. It's going to be very, very difficult. This is all on a case-by-case basis. As we move forward with larger inventory and it becomes more of a buyer's market, will you have a little bit more negotiating room? Could you possibly get some closing costs paid for? Yeah, why not? That's why who you hire and who you work with matters. As an agent, one of my jobs is to negotiate on your behalf. So there are many different ways that, you know, we can talk and help you through the process of actually possibly getting some of those things and purchasing the home for a little bit less than you thought. Now, if you don't get any of the grant programs and you have the money on hand, obviously keep in mind your closing costs at the end. If you are part of those down payment assistance programs, your closing cost is generally going to cost you a little bit more. You're going to get the money granted to you. It's going to be great, and it's going to cost you a little bit more through the life of the loan. Could possibly change your interest rate as well. And getting in the home is the most important thing, right? You know, becoming a homeowner, achieving that dream that you've always thought about doing is the #1 goal. So really the purpose of this is just to show you there are so many different ways to get there. It's not a one-size-fits-all type of purchase. Every single person is different, and it's really all on a case-by-case basis. I just really wanted to go over a way that you could see that you really could purchase a home with little to no money down, or with as much money down as you'd like to put in. Because think about it this way, the more money you put in now, the lower your monthly payment will become. So you might say, you know what, I really love this house and I want my payment to be here. Okay, great. So then you're going to have to come in and put this much money down in order to get your payment down to here, where you can feel comfortable living in the property and paying that payment that you really enjoy. So a lot of times, you know, it's not directly affected by sales price. There are so many different things that go into it. And really, that's why we always start with a buyer consultation first. Find out what's most important to you and how can we achieve exactly what you want to do. So I hope that was helpful. A little bit about, you know, what it actually does cost to buy a home. Keep in mind those 3 things: your earnest money deposit, your home inspection, and your appraisal are all out-of-pocket expenses that you will have to have through any transaction. And again, thanks for watching. And who do you know that might be looking to take advantage of this and purchase a home with next to no money down?